welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, an easygoing podcast about video games, and we're just here chatting.
Yep, nothing too planned out this time. Although there is one thing I wanted to ask you, and I think you know what it is.
Okay, I just want to say we're your host, Deanna, and...
Oh yeah, and I'm David.
So what did you want to ask?
Tell me about this Pokemon mobile game you've been playing for the last couple of weeks.
Oh geez, okay, so basically it's just... Okay, so in the main Pokemon games, you're the trainer and you're taking up to 6 Pokemon, you're trying to catch them all, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So the thing in Pokemon Quest is that you're there as kind of like a human, you're like an explorer, maybe like, not a geologist, archaeologist, well, no, it's not.
You're just watching them do everything.
I mean, yes, you're observing the Pokemon, I guess. But you're also cooking for them. So the way you, quote-unquote, collect the Pokemon or become friends with the Pokemon is that you have this big stew pot. You put in various ingredients that the Pokemon find out on their little quest things. And you attract vaguely specific Pokemon depending on the kind of recipe that you're making in the stew pot. And then on top of that, it's weird. It's like you're kind of sending out the Pokemon on quests. So they go out and explore and basically beat up wild Pokemon. But you're kind of separated from it because you never see your human counterpart or whoever you are.
Yeah.
You have this like little Pokeball drone. And I think it's called like Meeboo or something like that. I forget the actual name. Me something. And it's also helping you go around this island. And every time you beat a specific biome after beating the main Pokemon in that area, you'll uncover or you'll discover a Pokemon statue. Now, I forget if it brings this up in the game or not. But I guess like the Pokemon statue is... from maybe a past civilization, you know, that kind of thing. Like, oh, there used to be people here, and now it's just Pokemon, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And the statues are interesting looking. I know one of them is a Tangela.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that. It's like a tall Tangela.
Yeah.
Tangela?
I always said Tangela. I don't know. What do you think?
I thought it was Tangela, but...
I mean, it's a G, so probably, but...
It could be anything.
Whatever.
Anyway.
I'm going to go with Tangela. Because I think Entangle.
Yeah.
Anyways, so there's the Tangela one, there's, I think, a Pidgeot statue. There's a few different ones. And each statue basically gives you a power-up, if you will. I think, for the most part, the statues are like, oh, now Pokemon up to, say, 10 in the first level or something get a boosted experience until they reach level 10, and then it's regular experience. And it's interesting. You could, I guess you, if you would like, could debate the ethics of sending Pokemon out there to explore, but also, like, beat up the wild Pokemon. It's kind of a dick move, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those
weird.
games where I wouldn't take it too seriously.
Obviously.
It seems like it's just kind of a time waster.
I mean, the game itself, yeah, technically. But isn't that most games?
I guess. It's just when I see you playing, it's like, it's basically... the same gameplay loop each time. I mean, it's, I don't know, I guess you could say that about many games, but like...
I mean, yeah, every game has a game loop thing.
What is it about this game that has drawn you in so much?
Okay, I guess if you've seen this game before, and I think it came out in like 2018, 2019, so it's a few years old. Ugh.
Remind me what it's called?
Pokemon Quest.
Okay.
And you can find it on the Play Store and the App Store, whichever Android or Apple that you use. If you've seen this, you know the aesthetics are basically like the first thing that come up.
Blocky.
Because, yes, all the Pokemon are blocky. Everything in this game is blocky. And the environment is blocky. The statues are blocky. Moby, the drone, is blocky, etc.
They're like, instead of Pokeballs, they're like Pokecubes.
Yeah, basically. Although, oddly enough, the only Pokeballs in this game are actually just like statue decorations.
Well, I see when your Pokemon faint, they turn into Pokeballs.
Well, okay, that's true, but I don't think those are your Pokeballs. It's just how to show that they're, like, out of the battle for 30, 60 seconds.
I guess.
Because when they come to your camp, when you make the stew for them, they're just running around. You don't put them in anything.
You don't capture them.
No, they, quote-unquote, become your friends. Because there's nothing to do with, like, oh, you can capture this Pokemon if you have a better Pokeball, if you have got a Great Ball or Ultra Ball.
True.
They just show up and stay around and play. And it's funny because some of the animations they only have so many animations while they're in the camp with you. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you'll see up to 3 Pokemon stacked on top of each other. So sometimes there'll be a Pidgeot, or I got a Pidgeotto right now in my group. And it'll fly around by itself. It doesn't actually ever technically land. But there could be, like, my Golem could be seen riding on the Pidgeotto. And then there's, like, say, a Pikachu on top of the Golem. So they'll stack, quote-unquote, 3 high.
And it's, like, purposeful. It's not just, like, a glitch where they're
No. It's purposeful. Okay. They're playing.
Okay, gotcha.
They just hang out, they play, they have fun. It's just really fucking cute. What can I say?
Interesting.
And when I looked in the Pokedex, which I don't look at very much, I don't personally care about the Pokedex. I just know, okay, I just have at least one Pokemon of every type or whatever. In the Pokedex, it only shows 150. So I was like, oh, I can only get up to Mewtwo. But I looked on later, and apparently you can find Mew at some point and attract Mew with a very, very special recipe later on.
Is that like your personal goal now in the game?
Well, yeah, because I fucking love Mew. What else is there to do?
Yeah, that's what I figured. Like, I mean, that is how I get into games too. Is like, well, I'll just set my own personal goal and
yeah, and I've always loved Mew. If I don't know how often I post on social media and stuff, or if I'm live streaming or something, there's all my Mew stuff behind me. And, like, it's weird because technically I've had more Mew stuff in the past, but for financial reasons, I've had to trade them in for money. But it's just, I don't know. It's a cute game. You get, like, 5 energy to use at once, so it's like you can go on 5 expeditions. And, I don't know, it's fun. Also, I kind of like that. I don't know if other people deal with this with, like, you know, the mobile game trope of having energy.
Yeah.
So you have 5 energy, you can go on 5 expeditions, and it takes time for the energy to charge up.
Yeah.
So each energy recharges after about half an hour. So I kind of like it that if I go on the 5 expeditions and I do all my stuff, I can go away and I know I have at least 2.5 hours until everything's charged up if I wanted to do, like, exactly on the time.
Do you feel like it...
It kind of gives me... I don't know if you would call it a structure necessarily, but I know I can't be sitting on this game for 3 hours in one go. I can only do so much.
Okay, but what I was going to ask you is, does it give you the feeling of, like, knowing there's that chore in the back of your mind? Whereas, like, oh, my energy is full, and if I don't play, I'm wasting time.
I mean, I guess you could feel that at the very beginning, but this is also like a PvE game, so I'm not trying to battle against other people.
Yeah.
So I have gone longer than the 2.5 hours. It's not like a huge deal.
Okay, that's
to
good.
me personally.
I know some people will they'll get into the mindset of like, oh, I'm at full energy, so I better go play and spend that energy, or I'm not playing optimally and I'm wasting time or resources or whatever.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. But again, because it's not a PvP game, I feel like the threat of that is not as high. Huh. Whereas if you were, you're competing against other people, so if I'm not on the clock at the very second, I'm wasting time, I'm going to be behind, etc., etc. There's no one to be behind here.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess I would see it in a way, be like, well, if I don't use my energy wisely, then I'm taking longer to get to the... I don't know, that's probably a bad way of looking at it. I mean, yeah. I agree. You're doing it the right way then, as long as you're not feeling that need to like, oh, it's been 3 hours, I need to play the game, or whatever. Yeah,
I mean, obviously, if you find yourself in that mindset and you're conscious of that mindset, you should probably work on trying to fix that if at all possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
And also the thing is, if you find yourself like, oh, I need to play... Another thing that kind of helps with this game, there's 2 good things that I really like about this game, is that one, you could set your Pokemon to do the expedition on their own. So each Pokemon has 1 or 2, ideally you want Pokemon with 2, special attacks that they can utilize. And each Pokemon obviously has their own roster of special attacks that you can choose from. Some are better rated than others, obviously. So while you're actively playing the game, you can press one or two of the attacks when they're available to use, when they're fighting other Pokemon. Like, let's see, my Growlithe has 2 attacks he can use, which is, I think, the Flame Charge or something similar. I'm gonna completely forget some of these names. Where he'll charge up his own attacks for a certain amount of time, and he'll just attack harder. And then his other attack is Ember. So when that's available to use, you can press that button, and he'll kind of jump back a little bit, which brings up its own issues. And then he'll throw the flame attack, and hopefully it'll hit some of the enemy Pokemon. And while those attacks count down to the next time that you can use them, they'll also use, like, a general attack. So I guess for...
Like an auto attack.
Yeah.
Which I'm guessing isn't as good as their special attacks.
Well, no.
Okay, yeah.
And I think their general attack or their default attack should have the element of whatever they are. So Growlithe will have, I guess his basic attack is still going to count as fire.
Okay.
So if he's going against a grass Pokemon, it's still going to be better. They still have type effects.
Yeah, that's... What about if they're 2 types, like Magnemite?
I'm not entirely sure. I haven't, gone... Their special attacks are definitely type-based, so, you can have... Pikachu can have Charge, but it can also have Tackle, which is just a normal attack.
Okay.
Their standard attack, I'm not entirely sure how that works. And for all I know, their basic attack might actually not include their type base. I'm not entirely sure. But you can probably tell by the color of their base attack, because I think... Say, Zubat or Golbat, when they throw out their basic attack, I think it's purple. So I'm assuming that's going to be
poison instead of flying. Okay.
Right. So it's probably on that. I haven't.
So
really
maybe like their first type.
Actually, wouldn't poison be Golbat's second type?
I don't know.
And that's another thing. They have the colors for their types on their little, if you will, profile page. But you kind of have to be careful because sometimes I don't remember the colors. I think it's interesting. This game has the first 151 Pokemon.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever update past that. Given how long it's been, probably not. But interesting enough, I think, Magnemite has Steel type, and I believe Clefairy and Jigglypuff have Fairy type, which is a pink. But the pink of Fairy type is actually pretty close to the pink for Psychic. So it's going through most of the types I've remembered, especially the original 151, I remember what their typing is.
Yeah.
But sometimes I still get confusing, ground versus rock is slightly close in color.
Poison and Ghost.
Poison, Ghost, yeah. Actually, I haven't even managed to get a Ghost Pokemon yet, which there's only the 3? In
the original, yeah. And they were all poison.
Yeah. And another thing is when you're making the stews, there's the basic stew pot, and then you upgrade after gaining, I think, one of the quest qualifiers or whatever. You upgrade to a bronze pot, which then takes 10 ingredients of each thing that you put in. And then you can upgrade later to the silver pot, and that takes 15 of each ingredient that you put in. But they increasingly start getting better Pokemon. But the thing is that you can only unevolved Pokemon are attracted by your food.
That's fair.
Even if you get the best Pokemon stew pot, you're not gonna attract even a Metapod or a Kakuna.
Okay.
So just as a small thing. And each pot has 5 slots that you have to fill up with food. So you can't put in just 2 items. You have to put in all 5. So, man, I gotta figure out a better way to structure these things.
No, I mean, I get it. It's just...
There's 5 slots, and each time you put in one of, say, the red mushroom into a slot, it's going to take 3. So if you put a red mushroom into each 5, it's going to be 15 mushrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I think we get it. It's general mechanic stuff. You don't have to be super specific about it.
I guess.
Although, okay, so I do have one question. A lot of these mobile games have stats where you pump in items and stuff to boost their stats, and
right.
Does this have that too? Does it just eventually get to the point where oh god, I gotta give this Pokemon 1,000,000 berries or something to raise its attack?
1,000,000 berries, no, but each Pokemon has a big old square. It's a big old square with other squares in it. I don't know if you want to call it a
Like a talent tree almost.
Or a tablet almost, because it kind of looks like it's almost made out of rock. And each Pokemon will have 9 smaller sockets that you can put in like magic. I don't know if you'd call them magical stones. I forget what they're called.
Like a materia.
If you want, sure. Materia, gems, whatever you want to call it. I think these are called like magical stones or something like that. So the gimmick, I suppose, is that there's a 3x3 square, so there's 9 inlets total, and Pokemon will have either a fist icon or a heart icon. So the fist icon is you'll put in a gem and you'll give them extra attack power. And the heart icon, you put in a special stone socket and it will increase their health.
Okay.
Some Pokemon will have a socket that is both the fist and the heart, and so you can choose whichever one you want to give them. Now on top of that, after a few levels, you'll unlock the first slot. Usually most Pokemon, I think maybe all, will come with a first slot. You level them up, they'll unlock a random second slot, and then more levels, third slot, etc. So the little gimmick here is that you want to get a bingo. When a bingo is 3 of those slots open and are filled with gems, stones, whatever, in a row.
Okay.
Now, it can be a row of 3 up or down, or a row of 3 side to side. No diagonal.
Okay.
There will be a bingo for 1 set of 3, and then you can get a second bingo for a second set of 3, and lastly, a third bingo for a third set, whatever. But you won't. I am trying so hard, even at like in the level 50s for some of these Pokemon. I still haven't gotten a second bingo yet. They've all been only just 1 bingo because it's randomized of which next slot will unlock.
Okay, gotcha.
And they're not going to all be in order.
Weird.
And some Pokemon are obviously better than others because things like poor Mankey and Spearow, even when they've evolved into Pharaoh and Primeape, they still only have 2 slots unlocked. And it's like...
Sounds bad.
Yeah. So I just evolved them just to get the next Pokemon, and I haven't used them since. And I kind of feel bad because, like, I don't know, they're cute, but...
Some Pokemon are just bad, and just, like in any game, some characters are just not good, I guess. I don't know why they're made that way, but...
Yeah, and
it's weird because it's not like you're buying good characters. They're just bad for no reason, I guess.
It's just, yeah. So it's like, okay, the quote-unquote bad Pokemon that you always find in the beginning in like red or blue, green, leaf green, fire red. Spearow's not great. Pharaoh's not great. Pingy's kind of... Yeah, I did use Pingy a while because in each of the little biomes that you go to will also have a Pokemon type that works best there. So I believe the first area is either ground or fighting, which is kind of funny because I don't think I got any of that type until way later, so I never got the extra fighting power. So if you take 1 Pokemon that has that special type into the biome where they're extra good, it'll double their power.
Oh, okay.
So if you have 2 Pokemon that type, you double both of their powers, and it's just like outrageous. But generally, I think the only place I used more than 1 of the type that's actually good in that area was, I think it was the cave system, and I forget what that's called. I think it's ground or rock that was really good in there. So I took like 3 of them, and holy shit, that we demolished that real quick.
Does that seem or feel more important than type advantage?
Well, when they are usually the type advantage in that biome if that's
so it's
one that goes
even better.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then they do sometimes mix it up because I believe you'll go in there and like, oh, say it's rock type, but oops, this one level has a lot of water or plant Pokemon. So it's like they still get the extra bonus, but then you have to watch out for that type. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's mixed up a little bit, but it's fun.
Okay.
So I don't know. I just really enjoy it. And then I started getting, not to like super min-max everything, but I wanted to know like, okay, I want to say attract this specific Pokemon because there's 2 types of extra training. You can do level training, which you put in the Pokemon you want to level up more, and you put another Pokemon up to, I think, 4 Pokemon, and they'll help the Pokemon train up, but then it's like you're kind of beating them out of the group.
Beating them out of the...
Well, because they have a little animation where, like, okay, say I put because I want to talk about Onyx being really good in the beginning.
Okay.
You put in Onyx to level up, and you use another Onyx to help train him. Because if you use the same Pokemon, they get way more experience than anyone else.
Okay.
So they play a little animation where your training Onyx will like charge towards the other Onyx, and then it'll bump them off, and then they leave camp.
Oh, so you lose the extra Onyx.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a very common mobile game thing where it's like, oh, you got an extra duplicate character, using it to boost this other one.
Basically.
Okay.
It kind of feels bad. It's like they're beating the shit out of the trainer Pokemon, and then they have to leave like dishonorably or something.
Well,
It seems kind of mean. Like, they're not dying. Pokemon never quote unquote die, or usually don't die, but it just feels kind of mean.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, again, it's a mobile game trope, so they just kind of spelled it out more.
And then the other training type is training their moveset. So I think you can only have like a maximum of obviously it's 2 moves. Mm-hmm. But you can use, say, the Onyx. You get an Onyx that has, I don't know, Leer and, say, Dig. Dig is a really good attack, so you want to keep that. But maybe Leer kind of sucks and you want another good quote-unquote attack, which is like Harden. So you'll take the trainer Pokemon that you're going to bump out of the group, and you can click on the Leer that you want to train, and hopefully it'll randomly pick another out of the Pokemon's roster of attacks. But it's randomized. And if you do move training more than once, I think it kind of goes down in percentage of if it's going to work. I think that only works if you're trying to move train at the same time. I think it'll go back up to 100% if you go on like an expedition or something in between. So I'm probably not the best at explaining this. But.
No, I mean, don't worry. It's just, I was curious because, like, again, it looks like a mobile game and it has all the mobile game trappings, I guess.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, you can use your currency to recharge your energy if you really want to, but I like having the break, so I never really have that need.
And it has that same kind of thing that a lot of mobile games do, where like the numbers are way bigger than like you would expect. Like, I see your Pokemon doing like thousands of damage, which is not a thing in regular Pokemon games.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't personally tend to look at the numbers all that much. I just see the health bars and see like the percentage that they're doing to the other Pokemon.
Okay.
I don't know. It doesn't seem too big of a deal to me. The one thing I do really like is technically they have microtransactions. Yeah. Because you can get the special, which each attack they can have between, I guess technically 0 if you have 2 attacks, between 0 or 3 if you have only 1 attack. Extra slots that you can put in special gems that will like increase the range of their attack or decrease the wait time that you need to wait to use the attack again, or they can use the attack twice in a row, but then you'll wait 50% longer, stuff like that. Technically, you can buy those one each for like, I think it's like $3 or something. But the weird thing is like, you get so many of them, I could recycle those if I wanted to use less space in my inventory for the stones. But I see no need to buy any of those. So it's technically there, but you're never really going to need it.
That's good.
The thing is that they don't, other than those silly little gems that you're probably not going to need to buy, it's interesting. Their microtransactions are more, people have called it more like a DLC than microtransactions, because there's only 3, well, I guess 4, because there's a beginner one, but that's really cheap, and I just bought that with Google free money, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. 4 little packages, and they come with an extra Pokemon or 2. I think one of the other ones comes with Ninarina and Ninaran, sorry. And a couple of decorative items that give little boosts to the thing. But you buy them in packs, and you can buy the main pack that has the 3 main ones for 10% off. But you only buy that once. And it's like $30. So it's...
Damn.
It's weird. I kind of have... If I had the money, I would probably buy it, because it's once. I'm not going to buy anything else. I've enjoyed the game. There's no other microtransactions. Once you buy that, it's done. Whereas if it was like microtransactions for like, oh, get more special mushrooms or more special whatever. If you're someone who has an issue with using microtransactions, it could go up much higher than $30.
Yeah. And you said it comes with like just a couple Pokemon Pokemon?
So the first beginner pack, which was like 99 cents, so again, I used just the free Google money.
Yeah.
It came with the Pikachu that has Surf, and I think it was Thunderbolt or Charge or something.
Oh, yeah, I saw you using that Pikachu with Surf. But, like, the thing is, you're spending real money, and then, like, eventually you just stop using these Pokemon anyways, right?
I mean, yes, you could, but they're Pokemon with, like, special attacks. Like, if you get another Pikachu, it's no other Pikachu is going to have Surf.
Okay.
So it has, like, that weird type advantage kind of thing. The second pack has the Ninurans, so it has the 2 Pokemon. And I don't know what their special thing is, but apparently you level them up, you get them to their final evolution, and apparently they're really good. So they do help you with the game. It's not just any Ninuran that you could get by making food for them. They're going to be special in some regard. The second pack, I believe, is Snorlax, and then the third pack is Lapras. And then on top of it, there's also the decorations, which you can look into the pack if you're really curious. Or you buy the Mega Pack, which is all 3 packs together for 10% off at the $30 price point.
So you spend $30 and you get like 4 special Pokemon.
Plus all the decorations that also help in other various ways.
Okay. Wow. Well, that's an interesting model that they have there.
Yeah, like, okay, when we thought about our mobile game with the dogs and, you know, the different skins or whatever, we were going to have the idea of like, okay, you could buy each skin for, I don't know, say 50 cents or $1 or something. But if you spend up to $5, then everything else is free after that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, except, you know, slightly more expensive.
And, like, this is for the UFO game that we made?
No, the dog idea was going to be the, like,
oh, yeah. Okay, so for context, because I don't think we've ever talked about this, a long time ago, were trying to make a silly little mobile game that, think of it kind of like, not really Flappy Bird, but it was like...
Vaguely.
Just a silly, dumb time waster mobile game where it's like, you're this pug that fell out of a plane, you're in the ocean, and the only things you can do is jump up out of the water or dive down under the water. And you had to, like, avoid sharks and seagulls. So if seagulls were attacking you, you would dive under the water. If a shark was attacking you, you'd jump out of the water. And it was literally just up or down. Just
super simple.
Keep going until you die. It was a dumb little, let's just practice making games kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the idea was, maybe you could spend money to buy a
different skin. So instead of playing as a pug, maybe you play as a golden
cat.
Retriever pug.
Sure, anything.
Or a cat, something, yeah.
I guess, I mean, we must have put more thought into this game back then. I can't even remember, like, why someone would play this game for more than 5 or 10 minutes. I guess the idea was, it was like Flappy Bird. This is a dumb game, but maybe you would share your score. And like, I lasted 60 seconds. I lasted 2 minutes. And I can't even imagine nowadays, like, the idea of like wanting to... I guess that's why the skin would be like $1 at most.
Yeah, it's just something simple. And then you'd max out at $5 if somehow you decided that. And then any other skin that we release later on would be free for you.
Okay, yeah.
So we weren't going to like try and make 100 skins and each one's $1 or something. We were going to at least put a limit on it.
Eventually, like, you don't spend more than $5 on this garbage, please.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like, whatever. So it's kind of like that idea, except instead of $5, it's $30. So fine, whatever. Whether I do it one day, only if I actually make money.
I cannot imagine, because like...
I don't know. I do like the idea of collecting it, obviously. And then if you buy like the free mega pack, then you also, or each pack individually, if you so choose to take it that way, you'll also get like a Master Ball decoration thing. But whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than it's weird. Like, I was about to say it's better than gacha, but like...
Yeah. Because the gacha is with the stews, but even that you can kind of have better chances. Like, there's a recipe where you'll have like a 97% chance of getting an onyx, which is, again, really good in the beginning game. Like, holy shit, I demolished so many things with the onyx.
Okay, I know you really want to get Mew. Let's say I was playing this game and my goal was, my favorite Pokemon is, I don't know, let's just say Moltres. It's not, but let's just say Moltres. I really want to get a Moltres, and I assume it's in the game. So my goal is to get a Moltres. Is there a way for me just to, if I'm like some bored billionaire, I just want to play gacha and spend $3,000 and hopefully get a Moltres. Is
Nope.
there? Okay, interesting.
You have to work to get that special pot, which I'm assuming is either the silver one, or I think there's actually one more pot. I don't remember. You have to work to get that pot, and then you have to have the items to create the recipe that would give you a chance of getting Moltres, but you can't buy any of those ingredients.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So you can't just spend your money way to get whatever legendary Pokemon. You still have to work for it. Like, the Mew that I want to get, I still have to work for it. Someone took a year to get their Mew.
Wow.
So, now granted, I don't know. They said it took them a year. Maybe they played once a day. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not saying that I'll take a year to get to that, but who knows?
It's interesting to see all these different mobile games with the different payment methods, or
Yeah.
because obviously I'm playing Genshin a lot, but I haven't spent a dime. And in order to get the characters you want, you have to like save up your gems. So like I know soon that the new Pyro Archon is going to be available in like probably like 5.3. So we're currently in 5.0. So I could just save. I technically have enough to get her if she was released now. But there's one other character I want to get, so it's going to be like, how much of these gems do I spend on her? And then will I be able to earn enough to get the Pyro Archon when she comes out? And then there's a game like, a mobile game that I really was into for a while was Metal Slug. Was it called Metal Slug Attack? Metal Slug Defense? I don't remember, actually. It's been a while since I played it. But it's basically like, it's gacha, but you also get some free guaranteed units. And the free guaranteed units are all the great classic Metal Slug characters and vehicles that you've seen in the regular games. Like imagine that big tall tank that shoots the little balls that roll. That's just a regular unit in the game that you can just get.
So at the very least, they didn't put any of the nostalgic characters or vehicles behind a paywall?
Technically, no.
Okay.
The sad thing is, they are...
Not as good?
Yeah, there's a word for that. Power crept. So like, cool, you can get like your classic Metal Slug and your favorite characters and all these cool... If you want to make like a big chaotic scene straight out of Metal Slug X or Metal Slug 3, you can do that. But they're not going to be as strong as like the new characters they made for this game.
Okay.
So like originally one of the strongest characters was this like girl with like 2 katanas. And she's not really in any of the old games. But
you say not really. Does she like show up like at the very end, or she is legitimately new just for this mobile game?
She's new for the mobile game. She's part of one of the factions that is in the old games.
Oh, okay.
So like there's the main faction with like Marco and stuff. And then there's like the I forget the name of their faction, but like the main bad guys that like has like that Saddam Hussein Hitler kind of dude.
Yeah. I was going to say like that's the main guy that I remember.
Yeah, he's like in the helicopter and he's laughing, right? That's actually one of the units you can get. Then there's like the alien faction.
Can you get the alien guys?
Yeah.
Oh.
And they're, again, because they're from Metal Slug 2 and X, they're just not that good. At least not the base ones.
Duh.
But then there is an alien faction, and there are like new alien units, and a lot of them, because it's a gacha game, are very cute girls.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
So yeah. Like I said, one of the girls with 2 katanas, she's just a hot girl in a fucking silly ass sexy outfit, whatever. It's still in Metal Slug sprite work, and the sprite work is really well done, so it's like, it's cool. And they'll remix the characters, like Theo is one of the characters. I think she's the one with the glasses. God, I'm gonna forget. Her base regular unit is not that good, but then they're like, oh, this is Mecha Theo, and she's got this cool robot suit on, and like it's skin tight, and look at her cleavage.
Oh, Jesus. See, I was thinking you said something about mecha. I'm like, oh, she's in this giant machine or something.
It's more like she's wearing these like mecha boxing arm things. Okay. It's kind of cool. Anyway, the way they do their monetization is they'll sell individual characters like every week or two. There's like, this is the new character for this patch. You can just buy them for $10. Or there's also these other characters that are released on the gacha. So they kind of had both. And it was, I don't know, I didn't like it because like everything got like power creep. Like, oh, here's a new unit. It's really good. And then like here's some stages to play through, and like you get to the end, is like, man, my old units can barely keep up with all this new exaggerated stats. But I don't know, it was still fun. It was kind of like imagine a card game where you're building your 8 unit deck, and then each unit has like a cost and a cooldown. So you want to build a deck that has some good early unit, low cost that you can spam out, and then maybe they're like the regular soldiers, and then like some late unit, really big, strong, that can like be tanky and do a lot of damage. So you're building your little army and you're sending out a bunch of dudes and, you know, a few tanks and maybe like a big war machine or two, and it's just a big chaotic mess. And it was fun. But yeah, I think I spent, like you, free Google money.
Yeah.
So like you do some Google surveys and you get Google money, and that's like I probably spent like maybe $10 on that, because I don't know, it was fun to watch all the little Metal Slug units, just, you know, being able to control just an army of them is fun.
Yeah.
That was
I wish I was
game.
getting enough Google surveys to eventually save up the 30, but
That's a lot.
Yeah, the biggest purchase I've ever made with the Google money is saving up $15 for a year subscription to an app that I barely ever used.
Oh my goodness.
I had the idea of using it and then I just forget about it.
I mean, that's fine. I feel like we're getting less and less of those Google surveys, because I think I have like $2 or $3.
Yeah, there was one point in time where it just kept throwing out stuff, but it's not doing as much.
Nowadays, I think that I mostly just spend that money on like renting movies to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think that's how we watched the Mario movie. Yeah.
Yeah, we got that through the credits.
So yeah, game monetization. Wow.
All I will say is another thing, and it's not necessarily a downfall of the Pokemon quests. I think it can be frustrating at sometimes, but it's not like massive. Sometimes the Pokemon AI can get kind of derp. And you could just chalk that up to Pokemon being kind of derp. Like,
yeah.
They're trying their best. But sometimes you can, while you're playing the expeditions, and you can see a Pokemon or a boss Pokemon is building up to a big attack. So you can choose, there's a button you can hit, and the Pokemon are supposed to flee from whoever they're attacking. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't. Maybe it's like if they're in the middle of their attack, they'll just ignore it, which I guess makes sense. But sometimes I'll try and hit the button to make the Pokemon run away when, say, a Voltorb is about to explode. You know, obviously you don't want them around. It'll actually just kick their ass and most of the time just knock them out completely. But instead of running away from the Voltorb, they'll sometimes decide to just run up next to it.
Oh, weird.
And it was like, no, that's not the direction I wanted you to go into.
I thought you were going to say...
Or they'll get stuck behind, like, a wall sometimes.
Yeah, like, they'll just run into a wall.
Actually, there was one time, I don't remember the exact battle, I think it was in the mine somewhere, and the Pokemon will automatically run around and try to find, like, the next group of Pokemon to go after. Mm-hmm. And they found one, except they were going around some rocks, and so the wild Pokemon noticed them and came out from the rocks and started to chase them around the other end. And I think for like almost a minute they were just all running around in a circle. Mm-hmm. But it actually worked because they were kind of healing at the same time. Like, they'll heal periodically. So it was just funny watching them all. They were chasing the wild Pokemon was chasing them, and they were just going in a circle until... I don't remember which group decided to go the other way and actually, like, catch up. It was just kind of funny. Or the one time I was on an expedition and one of my weak Pokemon was knocked out. And they'll stay knocked out for, I don't know, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, something like that. And then when it woke up, it just happened to walk alongside the boss character, which was making a big attack, and it immediately died. So it woke up, got hit, and went back to sleep again. Great. It was just, I don't know, small things, but
okay,
silly.
You know, I will say, I like that it's, I don't think you mentioned this, but it's real time. It's not turn-based, and there's 3 Pokemon out, so it's so much faster.
Yeah, it usually doesn't take too long.
Pokemon is like, it can drag on for so long, especially the newer ones with the 3D animations. It's just... I want these games to be faster. Yeah. That's one thing I really liked about Pal World, actually. It's just because it's real time, everything just is so speedy.
And I forget if I mentioned this before, but yeah, if you want to send your Pokemon out on the expeditions, but you have something to do, like...
Oh, yeah, the auto mode, right?
Yeah, you can just put them on auto mode, and they might not do things exactly how maybe they quote-unquote should. But they'll usually take care of themselves. So you could be doing something on the computer or something and just kind of go through, let them do the expedition, and they can get their experience, and each expedition you get one countdown on whatever stew pot you're cooking. So it can be an idle game if you need it to be.
Yeah, actually the Metal Slug game was kind of like that too. I remember they didn't have PvP in a traditional sense. It was more like you would build a team, and then you could have that team just sit there and other people can challenge it. And you could just hit auto and it would spend the credits automatically. It's kind of like, I know you played the game Battle Cats, right?
Yeah.
It's basically like Battle Cats, where you can sit it on auto and then it would send out units automatically. Or you could be, strategic about it. And one of the really powerful things to do in that game was to use air units like airplanes. There was certain airplanes that you could just send out, save up, and just send them out and strafe. And they a lot of the cheap early units that would be automatically sent out by the enemy are just ground units, and they couldn't attack the airplanes. And the airplanes were a lot faster, so they would just fly over and hit the base, and you could just destroy their base and win really quick. So that was a thing you could do. But if you just hit auto, then it's just going to be sending out your cheap units, and then your mid units, and then the big large unit at the end. So there was strategy if you wanted to sit there and play, or if you're just playing normal stages, you could just hit auto and watch the chaos happen.
Yeah. I think for a mobile game, Pokemon Quest is probably the better type out there.
Well, that's good.
And it's just cute. So, maybe I'll try and make some of the Pokemon characters, because it's just they're in cube form.
I did remember seeing your Golem, and he basically looks like a Minecraft block walking around.
It's between Minecraft and I also... Do you know those... I don't know what they were called. The big cube fortress things in Breath of the Wild.
Big cube fortress things.
They were like a labyrinth, I guess. And you go in, and it's just this giant cube.
Oh, you mean those maze things?
Yeah.
Oh.
It kind of reminded me of that, too. And also maybe a Borg cube.
Okay.
I mean, less green, but I don't know. There's just something about it. Well, and they kind of just waddle everywhere, too. It's kind of silly to see them waddle.
I remember one of them. I don't remember which Pokemon it was when I was watching you play, and it just looked like a refrigerator.
There's a few of them. I think Raticate was the first one to me that looks like a refrigerator. It's just so rectangular.
Yeah.
Although, obviously, the bird Pokemon fly, although I think Farfetch'd actually does still walk around. And Alakazam floats. So, also another thing is, you can get Golem and Alakazam, and you don't obviously have to trade for them. They just take...
That's so nice.
Very high levels to
I never liked
evolve, but yeah.
Maybe that's because, I didn't have friends that had Pokemon back in the day. But, yeah, I never liked that.
Yeah, same. So, yeah, I enjoyed it. And, I bet they could get more people to buy the DLC for this game if they, updated it with second generation Pokemon. But whatever.
Yeah, that's the weird thing to me. When I hear the monetization in this, I'm like, I don't think I would ever buy any of that stuff. But that's good. You don't want, because there are some games where they do put things that are oh man, I really want that, and it's the only way you can get it is money, and that's sad.
Yeah.
At least this, you can get Nidoran, you can get a Pikachu. I mean, sure, you can't get Surfing Pikachu, but still,
yeah,
you can get Mew, you can get all the good stuff without it being locked away by money, which is good.
Yep, definitely. And if I had a normal job, then $30 actually wouldn't be the worst thing ever.
That's the thing about, I was talking about the Metal Slug game, that is a bad thing about it. There are some characters that are just locked, and you have to pay $8 or $10 if you want this character. It was interesting because they would also give out a bunch of, every new patch would have the character that was $8 or $10, and then a star character that was gacha only. But then they would also release a bunch of free units that weren't the cute girls. They were just this is a cool big ship or a big old weird alien monstrosity, and you can just earn this during the game. But the cute girls, those are the ones that they lock behind the gacha and the payments, because they know that's what the people are gonna throw money down at.
Yeah, figures. That's its own issue, but sure.
Sex sells, even in pixel form, I guess.
Men are such simple creatures.
It's, the tale as old as time. What are you gonna do?
Which is weird, because, I like cute girls, too, but the draw of a cute girl for gacha money just, I don't know. Maybe it's just a me thing. I'm sure there's lesbian and bisexual girls that fall for the gacha of the cute girl thing, too.
Or the the husbando type thing too. I know. I've
Yeah,
seen
but the husbando, while it does exist, is not in the same realm. As
no, it isn't. It really isn't. But yeah, well, whatever. I don't know. I don't think I've ever. You know what? That should be a discussion for another day.
What specifically? Waifus and husbandos.
Sex appeal in video games and how it affects us and how it affects our desire to play, pay, or grind. Anyway, we can leave that for some other time. Because I think there's...
Yeah, there'll be some hot takes in there, I think, from my view.
There is something recently that happened that I thought would be interesting to discuss, but I think this is a good enough.
Okay, so maybe potential, preview or...
No guarantees. We'll see. Maybe something for when we don't have much else to talk about, because I didn't really talk too much this time. This is a very you-heavy episode.
Gasp, that doesn't happen often.
Are you sure about that? Anyway...
You talk a lot more, or you're just better at explaining things than I am.
I think you're just self-conscious about things like that.
This is true. So we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.